Well, hey everybody. If you're watching this video, you either missed the Google Meet when we talked about solving equations lesson number 6 in Desmos, which goes over the distributive property, or you forgot how to do it and you're coming for a refresher. So here's how this works. Distributive property is put in place to help group items. And the way I always explain distributive property is with a little analogy. I've got two daughters, one's 16, one's 13. And for a long time when they were kids, we realized it was easier to get them the same gift. So if we go to pretend world, and this is what I bring home from the store, let's pretend maybe I'm buying stocking stuffers. I might have spent $10 and then this is what I bought. If I need to split this up evenly between my two daughters so that they're getting the exact same thing, I would wrap this in one package for my oldest, this in another package for my youngest. In essence, I've got two groups or two presents, and inside of each present are these items. We know that the shape is representative of our variable, and there's only one triangle in there, so we've got one x, and then we also have a positive 3. We know that I spent $10. This is the algebraic equation that represents this mathematical model. Now, you also probably were able to see that not only did this equation represent this model, but you probably would have just noticed, hey, why do we have to write it this way? I can look at this picture and I can see there's two x's. I could see there's two 3's. 3 plus 3 is 6. And that equals 10. These are two very different yet equivalent equations that match this picture model of an equation. If you look over here, it says in the text box, write two different equations. Well, here they are. Here's equation 1. Here's equation 2. We're showing you this in reverse so that you can see what this looks like mathematically. These represent the same thing. You don't have two equations to solve. You've actually only got one to solve because they're equivalent. This one's the easier one because it's a two-step equation. Here, most people are going to want to start getting rid of that 3, but you can't because you got to remember there's two of them. So if I look at solving this two-step equation, first I'm going to get rid of this positive 6. Remember, the only way I can do that is by subtracting, because plus 6 minus 6 is 0. Those go away. I would subtract 6 over here because whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other. 10 minus 6 is 4. I did not change that 2x yet. And now I know 2 times something equals 4. The only way to undo multiplication is by division. We show that with the fraction. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So now, as I've been telling my students, you can have all of this using the Sketchpad and Desmos. You can have it all typed in here and explained, or if you're doing it on paper, which a lot of students are finding is much easier, get it on paper, take a picture of it with your Chromebook, and submit that in as your work. Either way counts. Let's take a look at 2 more examples. These will go a little faster now that we've done the introduction. So we've got this example right here. Clearly, again, if you go back into the mentality of equal groups, this one right here would have this as an equal group and this as an equal group, and both of those together equaling 8. So I've got 2 groups, and then inside each group is, remember, it's just what's inside of one of the circles. So I've got 1, 2, 3 variables, so I've got 3x, and I've got a positive 1. And I know that all of that together equals 8. So remember, inside a group is what goes inside the parentheses. The number outside is how many groups there are. Now, I can look back up here and say, I don't have to write it this way. Well, I do for this equation, but it can also be written as this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 triangles would look like 6x. 1 plus 1 is 2 equals 8. So there's my 2 equations. Now I can just start solving this. Yep, take 2 off of each side to make this 0. I did not change that 6x yet. 8 minus 2 is 6. Final step is divide by the coefficient with the variable. and x equals 1. So I've got my two different equations, I've got my work, I've got my solution. Now let's do an example where you're going to see what the problems actually look like to start off, because it's really all not going to have pictures. Last question we're going to do together. This is an algebraic equation that you would need to use distributive property to solve. Remember, this number right here in front is how many groups. For me, to help remind me, I'll actually make the circles with the two groups. Now, what goes inside of each circle is what's inside the parentheses. Inside each parenthesis, I've got an x plus 4, and I need to have two of those. For a lot of students, this is a hassle to write this out twice, but for a lot of students, if they don't, they only account for two of the x's. They forget that there's two 4's. I know that these together are going to give me 12. Now I can regroup like I did in the pictures. 2 x's. 4 plus 4 is 8 equals 12. Went from this down to this. This I can start solving. Take 8 off of both sides. Bring down my 2x. And 12 minus 8 is, you've got it, 4. Divide both sides by the 2. X equals 2. So work through the rest of these, come back to this video. If you're still stuck and you've got problems like this, sorry about that. If you're still stuck and you've got problems like this, go to the very first slide of this activity. There's an additional video you can watch. Have a great day. We'll see you in class.